It's me, King Polly, and this is King Pollys World. You successfully made it here. I'm so happy you did because today we have someone very special gracing us with her presence. She is a fellow Las Vegas native, a yogi, and a friend. She is the founder of Home Means Yoga. Please welcome Jessica Ain.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
I'm so glad. I'm so happy that you came.
I'm happy I made it here.
I met Jessica while in yoga teacher training.
That's right. We were both getting our yoga certification downtown.
And what year was that? 2016?
Sounds about right. 15, 16? Because we started, I think, in like October and then...
So 2015, so that's 7 years. Oh my gosh.
No. Let's check your math.
Please check it. Math is not my strong suit. I refuse. Actually, I made a vow to never do math again in my head. So
I think that's about right, though. So,
it
7?
Is? Okay.
Yeah. I made a vow never to do math.
I did. So, oh my gosh, 7 years. That number keeps coming up. So 7 years ago, there was about 15 of us or 12 of us getting our yoga certification.
It was all women. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I think, an interesting group of women because we were all like very much on our own journeys and had kind of come together. It's interesting because I still stay in touch, like obviously with you and a few others from that group, but some just kind of faded out. And I'm wondering if like they'll fade back in or...
Isn't that so strange how that happens? And like the ones we never kind of know in the beginning, right? Who is going to fade in or who's going to stay, who's going to leave. I know like with meeting you, we hit it off right away. I even have a picture of us, which I should find. We're wearing the same exact thing.
Oh. I saw you posted that picture.
Yeah. And so it was just like, you know, and then, but I am very like, I don't know, like I like so much time by myself that I tend to just like forget friendships exist. And then I just, oh, hello again. Like, yay. And so many years I was kind of burned, I think. So I have somewhat of like a wall in some ways. And so I'm never fully sure. And it's like, wow, if we're at the 7-year mark, maybe I should know when your birthday is.
I don't know, but like, that's a good point. Because like, I know and love people that I don't know when their birthdays are.
Thank you.
And I think there's other things like that coming and going. Like, people will come in when I need them. And sometimes the harder part is letting them go when you need to also, which is also important.
100. And that's something I think when we both kind of started with teacher training and it was very nerve-wracking. Like it's more nerve-wracking than I thought it was going to be. And then teaching was too.
Yeah.
I had never really thought about it before, right? That things like me being in theater came in handy or like improv. Like I didn't realize that. And so what made you, because I don't think I even know this, originally decide like I want to teach yoga?
Well, I mean, I've been doing yoga for a very long time, but I think I was just like, I really knew that it was my goal to start a studio and to like try to share it in a different way that I had like felt in the community. And like trying to access people that normally wouldn't have access to yoga and things like that. So I think that's where I started. It's kind of grown and things since then. And I'm definitely, I think, more humbled by the whole experience now than when I started. I was like, I can do yoga. Surely I can teach it. But being on the other side of the coin is, I was like, just because you think you know how to do it doesn't mean you know how to teach it. And that was like the most ridiculous thought, especially since I'm a teacher and we're always like, yeah, why do you think you could teach better than someone who's been trained in how to teach?
Right. And then were you, because I know you were teaching when you start like teaching at a school with children.
Yes.
Had you already implemented some yoga and breathing?
I actually, yeah, and that was part of it too because I would use it a lot in my classrooms. I was working with children with special ed or in like a resource kind of placement. And what I noticed was I was teaching middle school math and we wouldn't get anything done because the kids were like, didn't really want to do it. And then they had a lot of energy to burn and then they'd want to talk and then they had trouble settling. And I found that if we just do 10 minutes of this ability to like get up and move, talk through the yoga poses, do like 10 minutes to breathe and move. And like we got so much more done after that point. So I think that we're always trying to like use every minute to work, where we're actually more productive when we take those intentional breaks and then we come back to what our, I still do that too in my own life.
100. Before you got here, I had to do some breathing. And, you know, like I just, being a human, let alone then too, like it's just, it requires so much stillness that we aren't taught, and like breath and the allowance of energy to move too. Like right away, we're sort of sit, don't do anything, stop your natural inclinations until we finally have, you know, tamed you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or not. And then it's like, where do you fit into society and into the world if you don't get those skills?
How long have you been teaching school?
So I worked in like public schools for 7 years, and then I did early intervention for 3 years. So that's babies with special needs, babies and toddlers. And then now I have been at UNLV for 2 years, training new teachers.
Wow. And you're getting your...
I'm getting my PhD in special education.
Like, congratulations. So many rounds of applause.
Thank you.
I don't know how you've done that, right? And yoga and offering that to the Las Vegas community. And raising a daughter. And during these times, like everything, you know, what over the last couple years do you feel like you've learned about yourself just through all of that?
Oh, so much. I think, I mean, yeah, besides like the practical, like work side of it, like I've learned my working style. I know like what works best for me as like far as like working from home and things like that. But, in these last 2 years, I think like on a bigger picture, I'm learning to like stop censoring myself. I feel like we're very often told like, oh, don't say that in certain company or don't. And I'm kind of over it. I mean, is it kind? Is it necessary? Those types of things. Right. And if it fits into all of that.
Does it improve upon the silence?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it the truth? Is it kind? Is it necessary? I mean, I still try to focus on that. But at the same time, I am trying to find my own truth and trying to like be comfortable speaking it out loud. So I thought this would be a fun time for me also. I was like, this will be good. You can do it.
I relate to everything you just said so much, because for me too, it's literally been so much of my life falling under like the people pleasing category and being small and and fitting into what other people thought I was, and just taking it, and also what goes with that is then the sudden lashing out and bursts of just rage that's been trapped inside, so it shows itself. And then now really learning, like, oh my gosh, I don't think I ever really learned how to speak and how to tell my truth and to decipher, my ego's opinion from like my heart's truth, and to then speak it out in front of others and being held accountable to it, and like also understanding that we're allowed to change our minds, we're allowed to make mistakes, but taking accountability and just all those things. I think it's a very rich topic that a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah, I think too, I've been really exploring this idea of gender and equality and things like that, and how people are like meant to be quiet, and if you are too aggressive in your speech, or if you're too like forthcoming, like would that be okay for another gender, or like how do we navigate through all of those subtleties that get us to where we want to be and how we can speak our message? Because I fear that my message will get lost in little things like, oh, you're too emotional, or oh, you're not emotional enough about a topic. Well, I didn't see you cry during that. You must not care about it the way I care about it. But I think that's all just wrong. You can care and not cry, or you can not care and know all the facts.
Everybody expresses in their own unique way, and they're all valid and real and true. And for anybody from the outside to think they have any idea of what's really going on in somebody is bonkers.
Yeah.
But we're trained that way, like to just go off what we see and our knee-jerk reaction in our minds past filters. So it's work to come to the present and like, okay, no, wait, like what's really happening here? How do I stay in my heart while honoring my truth, like who I really am, and these shells breaking away of like, I was just this little sweet girl, act like a sweet little girl, and I'm not that sweet. I'm not always so sweet. So thank you for sharing that, because I relate. And then two, in your field of work with teaching, I don't know how that plays out too. You're having to interact with the parents, and then the overhead, whoever that is.
I have like deep compassion for families and how I've never raised a child with special needs, so I can't even begin to assume that I can be part of that experience. All I know is the resources and supports and ways to like interact with the family. And so as far as like being an outsider of that situation that's like coming in to kind of like help with expertise, I've seen a lot in my field, this judgment. And like after seeing it from the outside and then receiving it, from the inside, I am just trying to be more mindful of it. And also, they had that judgment, but is that where they're coming from? Like where did that judgment come from? Like, and being more curious about it. It's a really kind of, I haven't been thinking about this for very long. So it's like one of these new thought process that you have to go through. But I think it all plays into each other, how being kinder to yourself can make you kinder to other people, and more impact that way.
And not thinking we know the answers, or even that we need to know the answers, but more just being curious and like, and aware and in our hearts and kind, curious, not so quick to just box people in or listen to our ego's response about somebody, showing compassion, which I've really in the last few years, because I hadn't really even understood autism. Like I had just seen how it was portrayed in movies, TV, and over the last few years, like, believe it or not, TikTok, like actually following autistic creators and just like, oh, it's a spectrum. Like it's like there's no, like, it's just anybody to think they know or could, it's just it's almost like you can't put it into words.
I do think that's like one of the fun things about TikTok is we are getting like more awareness into these things.
Yes. From the actual people. Like there's no more filter of coming through whatever it used to have to come through. Like it's like right, immediate, and real, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I do think that it's giving people like this different idea, like, oh, I didn't think of it this way. Or, yeah, like I haven't met someone that has autism or has shared an experience of what it's been like for them personally.
100, and that idea of inclusion. My dream is on some level, right, that the future of education would be really everyone together.
Yeah. I think inclusion is like my passion for what I do, and I don't think adults understand what it's like to have to sit at that other lunch table, or like what it feels like to be put into a special room. And again, I don't know. I haven't experienced that either, but I have seen it from the perspective of their teacher and their families. And so I am really big on inclusion. I think that's one of the most passionate topics for me, is how we can all live in this world together, because there's no like special lunch table when you go out into the world.
No.
Like we all sit together.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. You hit me in the heart, Jess. And you're a bright light. Like you really are a bright light. And your ability, that's one of the things I love too about yoga, is that all different types of people can incorporate it into their life, no matter their other job, their life, like who they are, whatever. And your ability to share it, and with children, like, it's one of the reasons that you inspire me so much. And I know it's hard, being a human in yourself, because we see all of our flaws and our dark thoughts and like all the shit we've done. But how you show up to the world, it really is impactful. It really is beautiful. And oftentimes we don't even know the impact we have. Like we don't know.
You're very kind.
It's true. It's true. And I just, one day, like I really do picture like with what my husband has envisioned for golf courses, and this, idea of really like the powers in the people and community. And I could just like, I could see you. I mean, you teach all levels. You teach beginners, you teach, men, women, children, but that element that it really is a gift to be able to teach children. Like that's not something everybody has.
I think practice helps too. Going and doing. We learn the best by doing. And like I said, I'm training new teachers, and I feel like it's hard for me to get the idea across that all of those books you read were fantastic. I actually really enjoyed that book too. I'm like, yeah, that was a good one. But going and doing and being with people is like one of the only like ways. And so it is been a little tough for me working on my doctorate because I'm doing more reading and writing than my passion is with the people. So, but I feel as soon as I accomplish this goal, it's going to just make it so much easier, and I'll have such a big impact on the communities I'm really hoping to influence. And it's funny, you were talking about yoga and how you can put it into any part of your life. I try not to go on and on. Well, in chakra theory. But,
No, please. Here's the place to go on and on.
But I was talking with one of my coworkers about how special ed's a really hard job. There's no like getting around that. It's a really tough job. But they have this like, oh, your job's really hard. You should go get a drink after work. Your job's really tough. Have you like wound down at the bar? Do you want to go to a happy hour? And I think that without my yoga perspective on the whole, like, we're not given any other coping mechanism. So how could we worry these people that take care of like the most vulnerable population? How can we support them so that they're not giving from an empty cup, that their cup stays full? And normally I end up doing yoga classes with all my coworkers and things like that. Do you want to come early? I'll teach a yoga class.
That is amazing.
I would love to. Everyone's like, would you do one? I'm like, okay.
Yes. And it really does speak to that we are all hungry for that. Our souls are all seeking something to actually feed it. But we're taught this as alcohol is one of the only coping mechanisms. I mean, it was for me for so long. And it really does just show, I mean, it's funny you say teachers and winding down and happy hour, because what pops in my head is when I used to work at this bar and grill in Boca Park and happy hour. And on Fridays, there would be like these groups of teachers that would come in from different schools. And I knew like, oh, they're from Western, they're from Cimarron. And it would just be like, oh man, like they just like, they went hard. And two, they're not getting paid. They're really not getting paid a living wage. I have a friend who's a teacher that has you have to have 2 jobs. You need multiple, like it's insane. It is actually insane. But just like, they were always so nice, but it was always like, oh, like I just watch them just like, wow, you're teaching. Like I didn't know my teachers did this on Fridays when I was in school. Not that they all do. But that element of having an outlet, like we all need an outlet. Yeah. So it's just what outlets are available. And that's with Home Means Yoga and you creating that. And you also offering it a Zoom, right? You do privates.
I've been doing, under all of the pandemic stuff, I did have to move to Zoom, and I was doing those classes. I enjoyed them, but now now it's more like privates and Zoom privates and then classes. I'm looking to I'm deciding where I am at that, because I loved studio classes, and then I loved those like big free yoga in the park kind of classes. And now I'm really enjoying the private classes where you work with the same person every week. I don't know. It's been a whole process of what I feel like I can give at the point too.
And how amazing too to be able to go through these shifts and experience these different ways of teaching. And like you said, even in schools and with kids, like you've taught in so many different environments, which is something, that I can't do. Like I'm very much, the sensory environment, overloads me to then I can't deliver a peaceful, like, it's very, I don't know if it's because my moon's in Taurus. Just kidding. Just kidding. Um, but I'm not. But the environment and just that, like having to just get the mood and all that. But in reality, yoga is something that technically, like, let's plug this everywhere. So to have someone that can teach it in all those different mediums, again, like
that's so funny cool. Where you were like, oh, we have to settle. I think that's a very like yoga studio kind of vibe. Like you come in, everything's like dimly lit, it's so quiet. Mm-hmm. But when you teach kids yoga, like my friend who taught 3rd grade, when I started teaching, she would be like, come in and teach my class yoga. So once a week, she invited me into her class, which I loved, and I would have every 3rd grade student doing yoga. And so, of course, we'd be like, do this, see if you can do this, and like try different poses. And it was not quiet or silent or still in any version of that.
Wow.
But at the end, we would do 2 minutes of shavasana, and we would turn off the lights and we would get everything quiet. And I have to say, the first like 4 weeks of doing it, people don't know what to do. They're like rolling over and seeing if their friend's laying down. Are you still laying down? Are we still doing this? And like they got really like antsy the first few times, but by like maybe a month into it, they were so quiet, and we would turn off the lights. And then my friend would look at me and she goes, this is my favorite part of the week. Yes. I was like, yeah, mine too. It's nice.
Yes. It's just so beautiful that over time, right? Like we get it. Like, okay, it's safe. Like this is what it's safe for me to be still and just with myself for a moment.
I think it's a very adult idea that I told you to do something, so you should be doing it right now.
Yes.
Where, like, obviously you need to practice it. And if I've learned anything about meditation, it's that sitting still for 5 minutes is extremely hard.
Because it's so interesting, meditation, right? It's different to everybody, and it changes. Like from when I first came to it to now, it's a very different thing for me.
Totally.
What about you? Like when you first started to now?
It's funny. You should bring that. So we were talking about teacher training, and we did meditation classes, right? We did some that were like an hour long, where we're going to talk about meditation, and then we're going to do it, and then we're going to sit here for half an hour. Like, I don't know about any of this. So used to hate it, like dreaded those moments, would spend the entire time in my head going, this is dumb, I hate this. And then I think for me, who changed a lot of my perspective was Bhante. Wonderful. He had like such a nice look at like stop fighting those thoughts all the time. Like if they come up, they come up. And so then I started like, okay, on your own, you can do 2 minutes. You'll be okay. You'll survive 2 minutes. And then once you're able to tolerate that, you can maybe go up to 5. Now my favorite time for meditation is 11 minutes and 11 seconds. So like that's normally my meditation block. And I never thought I would say that, but I crave it. I notice when I don't get it.
Wow.
So I'm like, ooh, you have not been meditating lately.
That's amazing. And Bhante was a Buddhist monk, is a Buddhist monk. He's on social media. Yeah, he sends out emails. Bhante. He's so sweet. He really did. He changed my perspective on a lot of things, including what being a monk was. I was like, oh, you're just a human man. Like we could talk.
He had a story about being like the most angry little monk.
Yes, I related to that so much. it really is. When people oftentimes hear meditation, they get scared and like, no, and it's boring. And I was like that. I'm always afraid of boring.
That makes sense.
But now I'm boring. I don't drink and I drink tea. No, but I used to have to really force myself. It was very much a forceful thing, and I have to do perfect, and these thoughts, fighting, and then to realize, oh, that's what meditation is. It's becoming aware of my internal environment, and that's my internal environment is a war. Like it's a war in there. Okay, so this one teacher, her name's Tara Brach.
I
love her
Yeah.
podcast, and she'll do 10-minute meditations, and she really helped me too with that of sitting still, and because it's hard. And I think that's all the more reason why we need to do it.
Yeah. I think this idea of like controlling your thoughts before they control you. And I think too, like, even that word control, like, I don't want to control my thoughts.
Right.
But if you observe them before they become internally really problematic and things like that, I have noticed that you can be softer with them, more gentle with them, more compassionate towards those parts of you that maybe you don't feel are so pleasant.
Non-judgment, that's what I've developed, I think, maybe the most now, kind of thinking about it, is it's not good, it's not bad, it is. Like, there's no part of me that's bad. Like, this idea that there's any part of me that's bad and I have to hide, that's old, that's expired, that's an old story, and it might have been true for me and how I lived my life, but it's not anymore. And too, meditation for me has somewhat come more of, I do it. Like, I don't set a time. I don't sit in a special spot anymore. It's wherever. Maybe it's in the shower. Maybe it's with music. Prayer too, is meditation to me now. And it's just not how I used to think it had to be.
Walking meditation
Yes.
is one of mine. I agree. And it's funny because someone's like, oh, so how's your yoga practice? Are you doing your yoga every day? That's, people like to see where I'm at. And I'll be like, oh, I've been really, focused on my meditation, and I've been doing it almost every day or a couple times a week. And they'll be like, yeah, but your yoga. And there's even a disconnect that for some reason I'm only doing yoga if I'm touching my toes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. 100.
Which I can do. I can touch my toes.
We can do that now without breaking my hamstrings. But that is so true, right? They're not separate anymore. And yoga isn't just this physical practice anymore for me either. And it is like it ebbs and flows. And it's not bad. And I don't have to judge it or, oh man, I just used to go so hard, I hurt myself kind of. Mm-hmm. You can use yoga to hurt yourself. You can use anything to hurt yourself. Yeah. But just, it's just funny, the difference, right? We start fully in the body, and that's what yoga and meditation does. It helps sort of, I don't want to say it lifts us out of our body, but it gives us just a different perspective.
More in touch with those subtle areas.
Yes.
That people aren't aware of. And I hope that with this new focus on health, or just us as healthy beings, that we are starting to be more aware of all of those subtle things. I ate poorly for 2 days in a row, and then I was like, oh, I wonder what it would feel like to do that for a month. Or, because it doesn't feel good right now. So would I keep going like that? And it's just subtle things. And I just ask myself questions. Again, taking away that judgment. Like, I enjoyed the cake I had the other day. It was really good. And I would have that hamburger again.
Totally.
But if I continue this pattern, how is that making me feel? And is it making me feel the way I want to feel right now?
Right. The middle path I think of, you know, that's another thing. I used to be very extreme yogi, thinking I knew, and judging other yogis. Like, I judged other yogis like, you're not a real yogi, you're eating meat, you know. And just to be on the other side of, oh, a real yogi wouldn't judge what somebody else is doing. Okay. First of all. But we learn, right? And it is just, it made me more in touch with my body. And so it wasn't so much now, ooh, I used to just be attracted to certain foods and not be able to stop eating them. And just slowly it was like, oh, wait, I don't feel good. I'm going to stop now. Like, and then next time I'm going to stop before I don't feel good. Like, it's been this real gradual taking of the Band-Aid off.
You don't want it to hurt too much.
No one hurt too much. I love that. Do you want to do our top fives now?
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, let's do this one because I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Do what you're excited about. Don't do the other one if you're not excited about it.
I mean, I'm excited. Okay. I'm more excited.
There.
Because it's recent. So, top 5 birthdays. Okay. I've been thinking of this. So, my birthday was 2 days ago.
Aquarius, baby. Happy birthday.
Day after Valentine's Day.
Everybody wish Jessica happy birthday by following Home Means Yoga on Instagram. Okay.
So, I do have to say that this year's birthday has been really good. Very chill, but we'll see if it makes it into the top 5. So, number 1 has to be my 18th birthday. It was like just so wonderful. I put the whole day together myself. I got up super early and went for a balloon ride.
A hot air balloon?
A hot air balloon. I was on a crew. I would chase the balloon. You just drive and you chase it. And they're like, it's your birthday, come up.
You were a balloon chaser?
Yeah.
I finally know a balloon chaser. Oh my gosh. What color was your balloon on your birthday?
It was multicolored. It was
the best.
A little, like the little stripes that go up it and stuff like that. And then when I got down, they spray you with champagne and they're like, you have to drink now because that's what you do to celebrate your first balloon ride. And so that was really amazing. And then maybe 3 years ago, my daughter and I went to San Francisco for my birthday, and we did it all. We did nothing. Like, we did it all and we did nothing. Our favorite meal, we went to Chinatown and got one thing from each of the shops and just ate them in the street. And it was like the best meal I've ever had.
That's such a good idea. Oh, that's a dream.
That one was up there on birthdays. Let's see. So, I mean, this year was very chill. I normally make it at least to the beach. I think for the last, that reminds me of one that gets number 3.
We have number 3.
Santa Barbara. We went up to Santa Barbara and we went to a few wineries. Like, they have the like little, and what we loved about the wineries are there were animals working there. So there was a winery that had a cat that was a mouser. So the cat was in charge of killing the mice.
I love that.
And then one had a dog that just came and hung out with you at the patio.
I love that.
It was the like winery dog.
Every place needs a dog. Wouldn't that be so cool? Like well, only if it was taken care of, but
yeah, I mean I think they would take care of the dog. Or I would bring it home with me and take care of it.
That's so awesome. I love Santa Barbara. Oh.
I know. So I think those are my best birthdays, just sitting. Those are the top 3 anyway.
I love it.
I made it through 3. The rest are like They were good.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of beaches in my birthdays.
Wow. I don't have any beaches in my birthday. That's interesting. You love the water. It's your...
I'm called to the beach. Me and Moana.
It's funny. I love the beach, but it's almost like I need somebody to take me there and lay out a towel and dust off my feet. and I need hot water. Like I'm always in my head, it's always so great, but once I'm there in person, I'm like, oh, like I start sinking into the sand, and I don't know what happens to me. But I think this new part of my life, it will be different, and I'll be one with the beach because I want to be one with the beach.
Maybe you're expecting sandy beaches, and you should try a rocky beach, so there's no expectation for towels or dusting of feet.
You know, I used to, when I lived in LA, I would drive. I couldn't sleep ever. I had insomnia. I was so depressed. But I was like, I live in LA. Like, I'm going to drive to the beach during these times. So at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., I would drive to Topanga Canyon. And I would sit there and just cry and like ask the ocean for help. You know, and it's some of my greatest memories. But it's interesting that I was called to the beach like at my lowest points. And it really was there. It's like a mother to hold me. So that came to mind.
I've been there. Mm-hmm. And then noise. I think there's something so calming about the noise of the beach because it's so loud. And you think of it as like this calm place, but it's very loud.
And mysterious.
And it almost is so loud. My thoughts can't like think over it, which is like nice for me.
That makes sense. Do you want to live on the beach?
I would love to. Or close. I wouldn't have to live like on the beach. I could live close to the beach. Vegas is not super close to the beach.
No.
No.
I would say
5 hours.
Yeah, 5
it's
hours.
5 hours to be safe.
5 hours away. Yeah.
It's worth the drive.
But we're very close to Lake Mead.
Ooh, you know what I've been getting into?
What?
Hot springs.
I just did my first.
Oh my God.
My first ever.
You gotta be
by
living
Boulder
that.
City.
Oh, that one's a good hike.
Yes.
There's some that you don't have to hike into though.
That's where I would like to go next. I wanted to prove to myself and like my family, it was a big deal. I actually did the hike. But that would be ideal.
That's what I'm always like, because those are the closest, I would say, to town, the closest hot springs. But they are like, you earn your right to go to those hot springs.
They were it really was so beautiful. Like it was just, it was a really wonderful experience.
Now I want to go to the hot springs again.
Where's the one you...
There's a few in Nevada, and another one is Tecopa. That one's really popular. And then there's a few up by Tonopah that I really like in Nevada.
Are there naked people in the springs?
There should be.
See, I'm the opposite. I'm like, no naked people around me, please. I think was what kept me away from hot springs so long. I was afraid of the naked people. I was like, I just don't want it. There's a hot take, you guys. That's me. I'm like, no, I'm good.
You can wear a swimsuit if you want.
Still, there's nudies around me. Okay, crack myself up. That was fun. See, that's why I love where the top 5 can take us.
Talking about the naked people.
Yeah, the nudies.
Okay. Well, top 5 moments you felt God in your life.
That's a big one.
That one is a big one. We'll see if we get to 5 again. We'll start with just top 3 and then we'll get so I mean, I feel like it's interesting because it's like those times that stand out to me the most are like those really low points. So like trying to quit drugs. is like an extremely challenging, and that moment that you feel worthy of being sober is like a huge God wink to me. My daughter, all the time. I don't know where I would be in this world without her, to be honest, even though it is the most challenging thing I do every time I wake up and go to bed. But we were walking, I think she was maybe like 3. I didn't have a car. So we'd have to walk everywhere, and it was hot, and I was like miserable. But she walked with me. I was holding her hand, and she asked me a question about God. And she was like, do you think that God and the Holy Spirit could be anywhere or show up in anyone? And I was like, this is a question, maybe not. I mean, it came from my 3-year-old, but I was like, definitely the Holy Spirit speaking through her. 'Cause it's one of those things, like, how I was so blown away at the time.
100. I think that's...
She continues to inspire me that way, but I remember it being very striking at that moment. And then I guess another place, I see God in the earth, in the sky. Every time I go out to nature, I have that wonder and awe of how beautiful the world can be, even though it doesn't feel like that at times, and it doesn't always like manifest itself in that way. Terrible things happen, but when I'm alone and I'm outside in creation, it's very humbling for me, and I feel most connected at that point.
It's all so beautiful. Jessica, thank you for sharing such like vulnerable, true, real stuff. Like, I love that. Like, I live for that. I live for the depth. And it's so interesting that for me, it feels like all darkness is truly there to show us the light. We wouldn't have the light without the dark. We wouldn't see the light. We wouldn't know the light. And I know for me that those are some of the times when I felt God, when I was living in LA, and 1 a.m. couldn't sleep, and there was this little church that was down the street from me, like off of Ventura Boulevard, and it was always open. And I walked down there, and I'm, the only one, and I sit down and I start crying, and I just open the Bible that's there, and I open it to Matthew, and ask, seek, knock, ask and it will be given, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be opened. And it just hit me. It spoke to me so much, and I felt God, and I felt like, okay, so that's what I'm going to do. And that's what I've done. Not always and not perfectly, but it stayed in my heart. And like with you talking about your daughter, that is truly one of the gifts I never, ever knew kids give, is their windows into God. Like, it's literally God speaking to you. And it's just if you're able to receive it and hear it, and it's like, wow, this is powerful. And it also, makes us look at our childhoods, and that we were also that and still are that. And nature also is the mother, right? Just who's always there, just giving and giving us some place to live. So thank you. I do at the very end closing statements.
Like we're in a courtroom.
I played a lawyer one time in a middle school play.
Oh, well.
I was suing Santa Claus.
You were suing Santa Claus.
And looking back, I'm like, why did my theater teacher think I looked like someone who would sue Santa Claus? Is my main issue now.
Is it typecasting?
I think so. I think my big nose kind of had like a villain feel, is what I was thinking. So closing statements is a time when we can share any last things that we would like to share with our wonderful, wonderful audience, friends, and family. For me right now, my closing statement would be thank you so much for being here. I really hope that you go on Instagram and TikTok and you follow Home Means Yoga and you stay in touch with Jessica. And if you're in Vegas, hey, do you need some yoga? Be on the lookout, okay? Also, I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful you came. I'm so grateful I know you. And you are a wealth of treasure. And I think everybody listening received some treasure today. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I am inspired by you. You live your truth. I feel like more than most people, for sure. I am working towards that, and so you are always an inspiration on how to live truthfully and just do what you want.
Right. Regardless of if people get it. One day they will. One day it'll make sense.
Or it won't.
Or won't. Yes. Or won't. Or won't.
It's fine.
Yes. Where can people find you other than
I mean,
those places?
of course, Instagram.
And your website.
And my website, which reminds me I should probably update all of
You know,
that.
I looked at it today and it's really nice.
Oh.
We have a really nice website. You can book things on there. You can contact her.
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
I'm mostly doing private classes right now. So if anybody's interested in privates, I am open for that. And then hopefully coming up in 2022, we will have a few more of those free community events.
Yay.
I haven't gotten all the details yet, so I don't want to say anything, but I am looking to do a few this year.
Awesome. Yay. Thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you all so much for being here. King Pollys World, I hope you had fun, and I hope that your dreams come true as soon as you stop watching this. And if not, give it some time. It's bound to happen eventually. We love you. Thank you. Peace.